Numbers 27 from verse 1 to 11 introduces us to 5 exceptional women. These were daughters of Zelophehad. Unfortunately, at the time of his death, Zelophehad had no son, and all his daughters were unmarried. And according to the Hebrew law of inheritance at the time, only sons were entitled to their father's inheritance. What stands out for me in this passage is the fact that these 5 daughters of Zelophehad lived with a difference. I'd like us to look at what made them to live with a difference. If we are to make a difference, we need to stand out. The daughters of Zelophehad stood out. And you know what? I'm sure that apart from Zelophehad's daughters, there were other families in Israel that had no sons. But we are not told of any such family, approaching the leadership at the time, and making a request that the land that was to be given to maybe their brother be given to them. The 5 daughters of Zelophehad stood out in that they are the only ones who gathered the courage to ask that the existing laws of the time be changed. Verse 1 and 2 says, the daughters of Zelophehad, son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, belonging to the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. The names of the daughters were, Mala, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tazah. They approached the entrance to the tent of meeting and stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the leaders and the whole assembly, standing out as the aspect of being different. I'm so proud of these ladies. They were single women and could easily have played the victim card and moped about being orphans, with no brothers and no land. They could have blamed their parents for not giving birth to a male child. They could even have blamed God and Moses and all Israel for the inheritance laws that did not favor them. They could have rushed into early marriages as a way of solving their problems. But they didn't just sit there and play the victim card. They didn't just sit there and whine. No. Instead, they stood out and boldly approached Moses and the entire congregation, and they made their case before them. Friends, if we are to make a difference in our society today, we must not be afraid to stand out in the crowd. We must not be afraid to be different from the rest. Don't be afraid to stand out and do something, even if you are doing it for the first time. Never be afraid to stand out, even if you are the only one who sees things differently. Stand out wherever you are for the Lord. Zelophehad's daughters stood out, and that helped them to make a difference. Well, the second quality that enabled Zelophehad's daughters to make a difference was the fact that they spoke out. They spoke in verse 4 and boldly asked the $1 million question, which no woman had ever asked before. Look at what they ask, as they speak out in verse 4. They are saying, hey, why should our father's name disappear from his clan because he had no son? Wow, they speak out and they say, give us property among our father's relatives. They use their voices to speak out. And since there was no precedent in their demand, Moses has to take the matter to the Lord. And you know what? The Lord replied in their favor. Wow. I like verse 7. The Lord, said to Moses, what Zelophehad's daughters are saying is right. You must certainly give them property as an inheritance among their father's relatives and turn their father's inheritance over to them. Wow. And you know what? The daughters of Zelophehad not only received what they requested for themselves, but the law was changed permanently for generations to come. Verse 8, God said to Moses, say to the Israelites, if a man dies and leaves no son, turn his inheritance over to his daughter. What these 5 girls, what these 5 ladies did should remind us that the simple act of raising our voices and speaking out what we believe is right can indeed make a difference. And you might be feeling like, even my family background is not favoring me. Everything is against me. I'm a nobody. I don't have much money. I don't have much education. I have no connections. What can I do to make a difference? I want you to know that you can make a difference regardless of where you are. And sometimes all you need to do is stand out where you are and speak out. And a difference will come. Well, something else that stands out about Zelophehad's daughters is that they lived out their commitment. As much as Zelophehad's daughters were given their share of inheritance, there was a condition they were to meet. In order for the inheritance not to pass from one tribe to another, every daughter who inherited land in any Israelite tribe was to marry someone in her father's tribal clan. That's according to Numbers 36 and verse 8. Verse 12 of chapter 36 of Numbers. This is what it says. They, that is Zelophehad's daughters, married within the clans of the descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in their father's clan and tribe. In other words, Zelophehad's daughters followed the laid down rules. They lived out their commitment that they were not going to get married outside. So they practiced, in other words, what they believed, what had been said to them. They married within the clan. They lived out, their commitment. And you know what, friends? I put it to us that if we are going to live with a difference, if we are going to make a difference, we must live out. We must practice our commitment. We must practice. We must live out our faith. We must practice. We must live out what we say, what we commit ourselves to. We must live out our convictions. You are a Christian, live out your faith in your neighborhood. Live out your faith. Live out your commitment to Christ in your workplace. Live out, what you believe. Practice what you believe to be right wherever you are, wherever you go. That way you will have an impact in your neighborhood, in your church. You will have an impact in your school, in your college, in your workplace, wherever the Lord has placed you, in your business. You will have an impact as you live out your commitment.